My name is Natalie Brooks. I'm 28 years old. And for a long time, I genuinely believed my life was unfolding like a romantic comedy, the kind where the woman builds something meaningful, finds love along the way, and gets rewarded for doing things the right way. Turns out it was closer to a heist movie. Saturday night was supposed to be our engagement party. Not a wedding, not a rehearsal dinner, just a celebration. Champagne, speeches, polite laughter. A moment where two families officially merged and everyone pretended the future was obvious. Lucas Grant, my fiancé, is 26. We'd been together for 2 years, engaged for 3 months. He was charming in the way people mistake for depth. Easy smile, warm voice, knew how to work a room without really saying anything. I'd built a software company from scratch. Started it right out of college, scaled fast, found a niche, worked like hell. Long nights, missed holidays, no shortcuts. By 28, the company was profitable enough that I didn't have to explain myself anymore. Lucas worked sporadically. Creative projects, some consulting, mostly figuring things out. The engagement party was at his parents' country club. Old money energy, everything beige and polished. About 150 guests. Men in tailored suits who looked like they'd never worried about rent. Women who smiled with their mouths but measured you with their eyes. His father shook my hand like a transaction. His mother kissed my cheek like a favor. They'd always been polite about my background. Curious. Interested. Especially once they realized how well I was doing. During the speeches, Lucas had champagne. Then more champagne. I noticed, but I didn't stop him. I've learned the hard way that people reveal themselves faster when you don't interrupt. One of his cousins raised a glass and asked the classic question. So, Lucas, how did you know Natalie was the one? He laughed, that soft, self-aware laugh that usually disarmed people. Well, he said, glancing around the room, I checked my bank account. Then I checked hers, and I thought, yeah, I could get used to this. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Not the relaxed kind, the what do we do with that kind. I smiled. I even laughed a little, mostly because everyone else was watching me to see how I'd react. The cousin tried to save it. Okay, but seriously, you love her, right? Of course, Lucas said quickly. I love everything about her. Her house, her car, her investments. More laughter, thinner now. Someone coughed. I'm kidding, he added. Mostly. He took another sip and leaned into it, emboldened by the room not stopping him. After dating artists and musicians for years, he said, waving a hand, finding someone with actual money was like, finally. I'm marrying her for the money, obviously. There it was. The phrase landed too clean, too practiced. Everyone laughed because socially, that's what you do when something uncomfortable shows up wearing a smile. I raised my glass. And without planning it, without thinking, I said, well, good thing we signed that prenup this morning, right? The room went silent. Not dramatic silence, not gasps. The kind where sound just disappears. Lucas's face drained of color so fast it was almost impressive. The confident, joking expression evaporated. His eyes flicked to his parents, then back to me. What? He said, too sharp, too fast. The prenup, I said lightly. The one your dad's lawyer recommended. I turned to his father with an innocent smile. You did suggest we get one, right? His father blinked. Once. Then again. I what? He said. No. What prenup? Oh, I said. The standard one. What's mine stays mine. What's his stays his. You know. Lucas stood up so quickly his champagne glass tipped and spilled across the white tablecloth. We need to talk, he hissed. After the party, I said calmly. There are people here. No, he said. Now. He stormed off toward the hallway. I followed, slowly, deliberately. I wasn't angry yet. I was curious. In the hallway, away from the noise, he spun on me. What prenup? He demanded. I didn't sign anything. Really? I asked. This morning? At breakfast? The papers you signed? Those were venue contracts, he snapped. You tricked me. I tilted my head. No. Those were definitely legal documents. 3 copies. You even had them notarized. His breathing changed. Not confusion, not disbelief. Panic. You lied, he said. You humiliated me. You just told a room full of people you're marrying me for my money. It was a joke. Was it? His face didn't crumple into sadness. It tightened into exposure, the look someone gets when they realize the room just saw what they were trying to hide. You're manipulative, he said. This is over. The wedding's off. Okay, I said. He froze. Okay, he repeated. Yes. That was the moment he realized he'd miscalculated. He stormed back toward the party, already rehearsing his version of events. I stayed in the hallway for a second longer, heart steady, mind racing. Here's the truth. There was no prenup. The papers he signed that morning really were venue contracts. But the way he reacted, the speed, the fear, the instinct to flee, that told me everything I needed to know. Because if money wasn't the reason he was here, a prenup wouldn't have mattered. Lucas didn't come back to the table. I knew that because the noise level in the room shifted. Conversations restarted, but cautiously, like everyone was afraid to say the wrong thing and draw attention back to what had just happened. I stayed where I was. I didn't chase him immediately. I didn't panic. I didn't feel the need to smooth anything over. That alone should have told me something. A few guests glanced my way, waiting for me to either laugh it off or follow him. His mother whispered something to his aunt. His father stared at his drink like it had personally betrayed him. After about 30 seconds, long enough for Lucas to think I would follow, I excused myself. The hallway outside the ballroom was quiet, carpeted thick enough to swallow sound. I found him near the restrooms, pacing with his phone in his hand, jaw clenched so tight the muscle in his cheek was twitching. He stopped when he saw me. "What the hell was that?" he asked. Not hurt, not confused. Angry, defensive. "What?" I said calmly. "The prenup," he snapped. "You blindsided me." I made a comment. I said, "You reacted." "That was you trying to control the narrative," he said. I watched him carefully. His shoulders were tense, his posture rigid. He wasn't shaking. He wasn't emotional. He was doing what men like him do when they feel cornered, trying to reassert dominance through certainty. "You told a room full of people you're marrying me for my money," I said. "What narrative did you expect?" "It was a joke," he said again louder. "People joke at engagement parties. About the cake, about the speeches, not about financial motives." He scoffed. "You're being dramatic." There it was. Deflection. I folded my arms, not defensively, comfortably. "I'm not going to argue semantics," I said. "I'm going to remember your reaction." He stared at me, jaw working. "I don't want to marry someone who plays games," he said. "Good," I said. "Neither do I." His mouth opened, then closed again. He didn't have a next line ready for agreement. "We'll handle logistics through email," I added, voice level. "Tonight is done." He stood there for a beat, then turned sharply and walked back toward the ballroom. I didn't follow. From where I stood, I could hear his voice rising as he re-entered the room, animated, fast, already shaping a story. I stayed in the hallway, leaned lightly against the wall, and took a steady breath. Not because I was overwhelmed, because I was thinking, here's what mattered. If Lucas loved me, if the money was incidental, then a prenup, real or imaginary, wouldn't have triggered fear. At most, it would have triggered a conversation. But fear? Fear meant risk. And the only thing a prenup risks is access. I waited a full minute before returning to the party. By then, the energy had changed. People weren't looking at me with sympathy anymore. They were looking at him with uncertainty. His parents stood apart from him now. His mother's lips were pressed thin. His father's expression had gone carefully neutral. The face of a man cataloging information he didn't like. Lucas was talking. A lot. I caught fragments. "She misled me. Sprung legal stuff last minute. I just need time." No tears, no breakdown. Just a controlled attempt to regain footing. I slipped back into my seat, picked up my water, and met his father's eyes briefly. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. He just watched me, thoughtfully. And in that moment, I knew something important. This wasn't over. Not even close. Lucas didn't speak to me again that night. Not directly. Instead, he did something far more revealing. He talked around me. I watched it happen in real time, the subtle choreography of someone trying to regain control without ever facing the person they'd just exposed themselves to. He positioned himself near the bar, close enough to be overheard, but far enough to avoid confrontation. His posture was composed, his voice steady, no theatrics, just frustration packaged as reasonableness. "I was blindsided," he told one of his uncles. "I didn't even know legal paperwork was involved," he told a family friend. "I love her, but that kind of manipulation scares me," he told anyone who would listen. Manipulation. That word again? I stayed seated, calm, still. I didn't interrupt. I didn't contradict him. I didn't correct the record. People expect women to rush in and defend themselves. I let the silence do the work. His mother approached me eventually. Her smile was polite but strained, like it took effort to hold it in place. "Natalie," she said softly, "Lucas is very upset." "I imagine," I replied. She waited for more. When it didn't come, she tried again. "He feels embarrassed." "I didn't embarrass him," I said evenly. He spoke freely. Her smile faltered for half a second. "We're family now," she said. "We should be able to talk through things privately." Then he shouldn't have joked publicly about marrying me for money. She inhaled, clearly displeased that I wasn't backing down. He didn't mean it that way. Then why did he panic? That ended the conversation. She nodded stiffly and walked away. His father didn't approach me at all. Instead, I noticed him observing, quietly, deliberately, watching his son, watching the room, watching me. That mattered more than anything anyone said. The party wrapped up not with laughter, but with polite exits and hushed goodbyes. The kind of ending people use when they don't want to admit they just witnessed something uncomfortable. Lucas left early, didn't say goodbye, didn't look at me. I stayed until the end, not to make a point, but because I wasn't the one who had something to run from. He moved out that night. I found out because my phone buzzed while I was brushing my teeth. A message. I need space. I'm going to my parents' place for a bit. No apology, no explanation. Just distance, presented as maturity. When I walked into the bedroom, half his closet was empty. He took the expensive things first. The watch, the shoes, the jacket I bought him last winter when he said he needed something professional. On the kitchen counter, he left a note. 3 sentences, written neatly, carefully. What you did tonight crossed a line. I don't know who you really are anymore. Please don't contact me until I'm ready to talk. I folded the note once and set it down. Then I sat at the kitchen table and waited for the adrenaline to fade. It didn't. What came instead was clarity. I replayed the night, not emotionally, but analytically, like reviewing footage after a security incident. The joke, the ease with which it came out, the panic when money was threatened, the speed of retreat. And the part that stuck with me most, he hadn't been upset that I mentioned a prenup. He'd been upset that everyone heard it. By morning, the messages started. Not from Lucas, from his circle. Friends, acquaintances, people who suddenly felt entitled to weigh in. You should have talked to him privately. That wasn't the time or place. He feels really hurt. No one repeated his words back to me. They only repeated his feelings. By noon, Lucas posted a long paragraph on social media. Carefully worded, emotionally coded. He didn't name me. He didn't have to. He wrote about trust, about being blindsided, about emotional manipulation disguised as humor. He framed himself as calm, confused, wounded. And me? I was implied. The controlling partner, the one who tested him, the woman who turned love into leverage. The comments filled fast. Supportive, protective, outraged on his behalf. I read them once. Then I closed the app. Because here's what I knew. If I responded emotionally, I'd lose. If I responded defensively, I'd look guilty. So I did nothing for 12 hours. And then my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a friend. It was Mark, my best friend. One word. You're not going to believe this. I called him. Are you sitting down? He asked. Always, I said. I just rewatched the video from last night. My pulse didn't spike. It sharpened. You recorded it? Yeah, he said. The speeches, the whole thing. I didn't think. Mark, I said calmly. What exactly do you have? A pause. Everything, he said. His jokes, the money comments, the laughter, your prenup line, his face. I closed my eyes. Not in relief. In preparation. Don't post anything yet, I said. I won't, he replied. But Nat, people are already lying. I know. Silence stretched between us. Then he said, just tell me when. I hung up and stared out the window at the city I'd built my life in. Lucas thought he'd told the story. He had no idea it was about to be corrected. I waited until the next morning. Not because I was unsure, but because I wanted to be precise. When you move too fast, people assume you're reacting. When you wait, they assume you're calculating. I didn't mind either, but only one of those works in your favor. By the time I woke up, Lucas's post had spread. Not viral yet, but enough that the narrative had taken shape. He'd positioned himself carefully. Disappointed, hurt, blindsided by a woman who used legal pressure as a loyalty test. No accusations that could get him sued, just enough implication to let other people do the work for him. My inbox was full. Some messages were neutral. Some were sympathetic. Some were openly hostile. A few stood out. I always thought you were intense. Money changes people. You didn't have to humiliate him like that. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded Lucas's post to my business lawyer with one line, FYI, in case this escalates. She replied 5 minutes later. Saw it, we're fine. That was reassuring, but it wasn't the reason I called her. I asked a different question. Quick check, I said. The SUV Lucas has been driving. What's the title situation? There was a pause as she pulled it up. Then, it's in your name. Insurance? Your policy. I leaned back in my chair. And legally? You're not married, she said. No community property. If you didn't transfer ownership, it's still yours. I exhaled slowly. Can I take it back? Yes, she said, cleanly. I thanked her and hung up. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt aligned. Because here's the thing. If Lucas truly believed I was manipulative, if he genuinely felt unsafe, then reclaiming my property shouldn't bother him. Unless he never saw it as mine to begin with. The SUV was repossessed that afternoon. No drama, no confrontation. A tow truck, paperwork, done. I was in a meeting when my phone started vibrating nonstop. Blocked number, another blocked number, then a new one. I answered the third call. You stole my car, Lucas said. His voice was tight, not hysterical, not breaking. Controlled anger. The kind men use when they're used to being listened to. My car? I said. You know what I mean. Check the title. It was a gift. Prove it. Silence. I paid for it, I continued. I insured it. I never transferred ownership. You can't do this, he said. I just did. You're a monster, he snapped. I let that sit for a second. I'm a monster who owns an SUV, I said calmly. Those are not the same thing. He hung up. 20 minutes later, his mother called. Natalie, she said sharply, skipping pleasantries. Return the car immediately. No, you're being vindictive. I'm being accurate. We'll call the police. Please do, I said. I have the paperwork ready. Another pause. What do you want? She asked. Money? An apology? I want nothing, I said. I'm done. She exhaled, frustrated. He made a mistake. No, I said. He revealed something. That joke wasn't a joke, I finished. And neither is this call. She hung up. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. That evening, I got a message request from Piper, Lucas's friend, one of the few women in his circle who'd always been polite to me. Careful, even. Not warm, not cold, just observant. Her message was short. Hey, you probably don't want to hear from me, but I think you should know something. I stared at it for a long second. Then I replied, Go on. She didn't waste time. Lucas has been talking for months about securing the bag. He thought you were his way out. My stomach didn't drop. It hardened. He had a plan, she continued. He talked about it openly, with screenshots. I typed slowly. What kind of plan? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then she sent the first screenshot. A Pinterest board. The title at the top made my jaw clench. Marrying up strategy. Under it, photos. My house, my neighborhood, articles about locking down high net worth partners, posts about pregnancy timelines after marriage. I didn't blink. I didn't cry. I scrolled, and with every image, one thing became clearer. Lucas hadn't been joking. He'd been rehearsing. The screenshots kept coming. Not all at once. Piper sent them in batches, like she was bracing herself between each one. The Pinterest board was just the surface. What followed was worse. A group chat. 5 people. Lucas, Piper, 2 of his longtime friends. One acquaintance I barely recognized, a woman he'd once described to me as just someone from college. The timestamps went back months. I scrolled slowly, deliberately, the way you do when you're trying to understand not just what someone did, but how long they knew what they were doing. The tone wasn't joking. There were no laughing emojis, no irony. This wasn't locker room banter or drunk bravado. It was planning. Lucas, I'm telling you, this is it. She's loaded and doesn't even flex about it. Friend 1, lock it down. Lucas, that's the goal. Ring by summer. Friend 2, kids? Lucas, ASAP. That's how you secure position. My throat tightened, not from emotion, but from the body's quiet alarm when the mind catches up. I kept reading. Lucas, year 1, marriage. Lucas, year 2, first kid. She's big on family optics. Lucas, year 3. I step back from work. Focus on the home. Lucas. Normalize her paying for everything. Lucas. By then, it won't even feel weird. Someone replied with a laughing emoji. Another replied with, smart. Then came the message that made my hands go still. Lucas. Only risk is legal stuff. Lucas. Prenup would mess everything up. Lucas. I'll avoid it. Say I'm overwhelmed. Emotional. Lucas. She won't push. She hates conflict. I stared at that line longer than the others. She won't push. He hadn't underestimated my intelligence. He'd underestimated my boundaries. That distinction mattered. Piper sent one last message. There's more. I didn't want to send it at first, but you deserve to see it. She attached a document, a Notes app export, titled 5-Year Outlook. I opened it. Bullet points. Clean. Structured. Marriage complete. First child secured. Career exit justified. Supportive husband narrative. Increase discretionary spending gradually. Normalize luxury expectations. If marriage deteriorates, 2 kids, Elo's leverage. Minimal work history, Elo's dependency case. Maximum support outcome. I didn't breathe for a full 10 seconds. Not because I was shocked, because something inside me had gone very, very quiet. This wasn't greed. This was strategy. I closed the document and set my phone down. Then I picked it up again and forwarded everything to one person. Lucas's father. No commentary. No accusations. Just one line. I thought you should see this. His reply came 30 minutes later. 2 words. Jesus Christ. He called me the next morning. His voice was different. Not angry, not emotional. Businesslike. I've seen everything, he said. The board, the messages, the plan. I said nothing. I suspected, he continued, the way he talked about your success. I told myself it was immaturity, that marriage would ground him. I waited. That was a mistake, he said. I've built what I have to give my children opportunity, he continued, not to enable this. There was a pause. I'm cutting him off. My instinct was to soften it. That's your decision, I said carefully. It is, he replied, and it's overdue, he explained methodically. 30 days to move out. Credit cards canceled. Allowance terminated. No financial safety net. Diane agrees, he added. We're both disgusted. I closed my eyes, not in relief, but in recognition. This wasn't revenge. This was consequence. Lucas called me that afternoon, from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. What did you tell my dad? He demanded. The truth, I said. His breathing was sharp now, controlled, but strained. My cards don't work, he said. I'm locked out of accounts. That sounds like something to discuss with him. You ruined my life, he snapped. No, I said. You documented your own plan. You shared it. You executed it poorly. That was private, he said. You involved other people, I replied. Privacy ends there. I'm going to be homeless, he said. You're 26, I said, with a degree. Get a job. There was silence. Then quieter. I hate you. I didn't flinch. Good, I said. That makes this easier. He hung up. I set my phone down and stared out the window at the city I'd built my life in. Brick by brick, decision by decision. The irony was almost elegant. He'd tried to secure his future by attaching himself to mine. Instead, he'd exposed exactly why he didn't deserve access to it. And we weren't done yet. The police handled the vandalism faster than I expected. Clear footage, clear intent, no ambiguity. Lucas didn't deny it. He couldn't. When someone damages property on camera, there's no narrative left to spin, just consequences to manage. Insurance covered the repair, quietly, cleanly. 2 weeks passed. The wedding date sat on my calendar like a ghost. 3 months away, untouched, unmourned. Deposits were lost. Vendors sent polite condolences disguised as invoices. I paid them. Freedom has a cost. This was cheap. Lucas's life, meanwhile, started collapsing in ways that weren't dramatic, but were final. He tried to move in with Piper. She blocked him. He reached out to other friends. They suddenly had no space. The group chat went silent. No encouragement, no defense, just distance. That's the thing about plans built on entitlement. They assume people will keep cooperating. They rarely do. He started applying for jobs. Real ones. Not creative consulting, not strategy roles. Actual positions with hours and expectations. He didn't get many responses. Turns out potential doesn't pay rent. Then the engagement ring became a problem. He stopped wearing it immediately after the party, claimed it was emotionally loaded, told people he'd returned it. He hadn't. My lawyer sent a formal demand letter. Clear, polite, unavoidable. He ignored it. So I filed a civil claim. The hearing took less than 15 minutes. The judge reviewed the evidence, the engagement announcement, the breakup, the documented intent to avoid marriage while retaining assets. Conditional gift. Return required. Lucas didn't argue. He couldn't. He handed the ring over a week later. I sold it. $38,000. I donated half to a financial literacy program for young women. It felt appropriate. By then, the video Mark posted, unedited, full context, did its work quietly and thoroughly. The comments shifted. Then brands stopped calling. Engagement dropped. Followers disappeared. Sponsorships dried up. Without the lifestyle, the image had nothing to lean on. Last I heard, Lucas was sleeping on his cousin's couch. 4 roommates, 1 bathroom, no parking. He started dating someone new almost immediately. A man who'd once bragged about marrying up doesn't take well to being alone. She posted photos of them together, cryptic captions about healing and starting over. A month later, she stopped posting him. I didn't ask why. His mother called once more, not to apologize, to inform. He's considering legal action, she said. Claims emotional distress, loss of lifestyle. That's not how that works, I replied. I know, she said quietly, but he's desperate. She hesitated. I didn't raise him like this. I almost said something kind. Almost. My exes reached out around the same time. After another. Lucas had contacted them, fishing, looking for anything he could use. They sent me screenshots. Questions about whether I was controlling, manipulative, abusive. Every response was the same. She was solid, she was fair, you're an idiot. He blocked them all. The lawyer's letter arrived soon after. $200,000 demanded. Emotional damages, breach of promise, defamation. My lawyer laughed. Actually laughed. She sent back a response so clean it bordered on surgical. Truth is an absolute defense. No verbal contract exists. Counterclaim for property damage attached. We never heard back. 6 months after the engagement party, I took the week off. The date that would have been my wedding day came and went quietly. I spent it on a beach with friends who knew the whole story and never once asked if I was okay. We drank, we laughed, we watched the sunset. I slept better than I had in years. The last update came through my email, an application to a foundation board I sit on, from Lucas. He didn't know I was involved. He wrote about overcoming financial abuse, about rebuilding after betrayal, about never having the chance to establish himself. He admitted, casually, that he'd never held a job before 26. We denied it, not because of me, because accountability matters. I heard one final thing through the grapevine. The man he'd been dating, the one with big promises and bigger words, convinced him to invest his remaining savings into a revolutionary coin. It crashed. He posted a tearful video about being scammed. Someone commented, maybe date for character instead of wallets. The video disappeared. Sometimes the best revenge isn't action. It's letting someone live exactly the life they planned for themselves. Lucas wanted access without responsibility, security without contribution, control without commitment. Now he has none of it, and I have something far more valuable. Peace. People think closure comes with a conversation, an apology, a final explanation, some moment where both sides agree on what happened. That's not how it works. Closure comes when someone's actions stop affecting your nervous system. And by the time the dust settled, Lucas didn't register anymore. A week after the vandalism, the final paperwork landed. The insurer went after him for the deductible, $8,000. He tried to negotiate, tried to argue, intent, tried to make it emotional. They offered him a payment plan anyway, $50 a month for 3 years. Every payment small, steady, unglamorous, like a metronome for consequence. Life normalized quickly after that, which surprised me. I didn't spiral. I didn't second-guess myself at night. I didn't replay conversations looking for signs I'd missed. Because I hadn't missed anything. I just finally listened. Work filled the space easily. Meetings, product launches, decisions that actually mattered. People who respected my time and my boundaries without needing to be taught. Friends stopped tiptoeing around the subject. They didn't ask how I was holding up. They knew. I was fine. Better than fine. About 3 months later, I started seeing someone new. Nothing dramatic, no declarations. Just normal. His name is Daniel. He's a pediatric surgeon. Calm, direct, exhausted in the way people are when they actually work for a living. On our 3rd date, I told him the engagement story. Not theatrically, just factually. I waited for the flinch, the judgment, the discomfort. He laughed. Not dismissively, appreciatively. I would have signed a real prenup, he said. I protect my assets, too. Then he split the bill. Exactly down the middle. It was the most attractive thing anyone had done in years. Lucas crossed my mind one last time on my birthday. A card arrived in the mail, from his father. Inside, handwritten, "Thank you for not becoming my daughter-in-law. You saved us from ourselves." I didn't know what to do with that, so I put it in a drawer and went on with my day. Here's the thing people keep asking me. How did you know to test him? I didn't. There was no master plan, no setup, no psychological experiment. He made the joke, and my mouth answered before my fear could stop it. Sometimes your instincts don't whisper. They speak clearly. You just have to be brave enough not to apologize for listening. Lucas wanted to marry money instead of a person. He thought proximity was the same as ownership. He thought access was entitlement. Now he has neither, and I'm exactly where I should be. If you made it this far, thank you for staying with this story. Not because it was dramatic, not because it was messy, but because it was honest. Stories like this aren't really about gold diggers, prenups, or viral moments. They're about patterns. The ones we excuse, the ones we rationalize, and the ones we only see clearly when pressure is applied. Sometimes betrayal doesn't arrive loudly. Sometimes it shows up as a joke everyone laughs at, except you. If you've ever felt that quiet discomfort in your chest, the moment something didn't add up, but you ignored it to keep the peace, this story was for you. You're not dramatic, you're not cold, you're not too much. You're perceptive. And perception, when honored, can save you years of manipulation. To everyone who's shared their own experiences in the comments, thank you. You're not alone, and your story matters more than you think. If this story resonated with you, consider liking, sharing, or subscribing. It helps us keep telling stories like this, slow burn, emotional, and grounded in reality. And remember, the right person won't panic at your boundaries. They'll respect them. See you in the next story.